Thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio. Sponsored by Grain Equipment Company, where innovation meets execution. I'm Morgan Anderson. Good afternoon. It's 60 degrees outside and cloudy. Those partly cloudy conditions are expected to continue for the rest of the day. Down here in Athens County, we may see about a quarter of an inch of rain tonight. Our low for tonight is 31 degrees. Let's take a look at your agricultural headline. House and Senate GOP leaders hope they can achieve a big win on taxes this year, but some admit it will be an uphill climb. The challenge is fitting a square peg into a round hole, the hole being about $4.5 trillion. The peg is likely several times that. Extending two 2017 bonus depreciation breaks, small business pass-through rates, and the death tax exclusion, a key for farmers, eats up most of the available sum. Longtime former Senate budget staffer Bill Hoagland told the AgriPulse Ag and Food Policy Summit recently.
Just those four things add up to about $3.5 trillion. That doesn't even come close to all the other things that the president wants, like lowering corporate tax rates, not taxing Social Security tips. I don't know how you do this.
But Senate Majority Leader John Thune said when it comes to extending existing tax breaks,
we don't think that ought to be have to be offset or paid for, as you say. If you're doing new things, if you're doing things that are creating new tax policy or new spending, then yes, you ought to be looking at offsetting that.
But fellow Republican and Finance Committee Senator Chuck Grassley agrees with Hoagland that the real math may cost too much.
In the discussion we've had among Senate Republicans have led me to that conclusion.
But House Speaker Mike Johnson is determined to get the job done no matter how things are counted.
I have been pressing very hard, very aggressively to get the reconciliation bill done by late spring. I'm trying to get this to the president's desk for signature at least by Memorial Day.
House and Senate leaders have yet to agree on a single budget needed to pay for either extending or adding tax cuts. Thune's math would still cost trillions and possibly add the political headache of massive spending cuts. Now let's check in with our weekly update from the Ohio Soybean Council and your checkoff dollars at work. Here's Dusty Sonnenberg.
I'm joined today by Brent Gatton, and he is vice chair of the United Soybean Board. You guys don't have bricks and mortar, but there's a lot of things you can do to help with infrastructure with checkoff dollars, and that's so important, getting the product from the farm to the customers. Talk a little bit about some of the developments there.
It's really neat. I tell you what, when you think about the infrastructure, of how we actually get our product to our consumers. A few years ago, we were able to invest in the Port of Grays Harbor. We were actually do some infrastructure studies and things like that to show what the need was in that part of the world on the west coast there, and we've been able to double the meal exports coming out of that port. Think about one of the champion stories that we really like to tell is the dredging of the Mississippi. That's able to save 13 cents a bushel by being able to get those vessels farther up the channel there to be able to load those ships heavier to be able to get our products to market. So when I think about what we've been able to invest in, it's totally amazing. And I tell you what, I'd like for farmers to understand that for every dollar, we had the most recent return on investment study was by Dr. Kaiser from Cornell University that he presented to our board in December. For every dollar a farmer has spent, we've got a return in $12.30. So that's a great return on investment. And a lot of these investments, take several years to be able to build these markets. You look at the animal industry, they consume 97% of our meal that we produce here in the States, and when you think about exports, we have a new export committee now that's really focusing on what that demand looks like and where we can actually invest the right dollars strategically in the right different markets. Mm-hmm. And so when you look at that, I would say we're probably spending 40-something% of our budget is in the export market, and probably 60-something% is in the domestic side of things.
Again, my guest today is Brent Gatton, vice chair of the United Soybean Board. Today's update brought to you by the Ohio Soybean Council and your soybean checkoff.
Thanks, Dusty. Now let's take a look at our afternoon weather update from meteorologist Ryan Martin, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com.
Dry in Ohio today, but clouds are going to be increasing overnight tonight. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin. Let's take a look at your forecast update. The clouds increase because we have a minor disturbance that's going to be trying to work through the state tomorrow. Scattered rain showers are possible over about 75 to 80% of the state. Up to half an inch can fall easily through Friday. Now, once we get into Friday night, we see this go away, and Saturday should turn out sunny, windy, and warm. That's ahead of our next frontal boundary that shows up overnight Saturday night through Sunday, and we see a secondary round of moisture linger through most of Monday. All in, all done for the Sunday-Monday time frame, anywhere from half to 1.5 inches. Coverage 100% of the Buckeye State. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Now let's recap how the markets closed, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. May corn down a penny and a quarter at $4.50. December corn down 3/4 cent at $4.43 3/4. March corn down a penny at $4.57. May beans up 15 3/4 cent at $10.16 3/4. November beans up 13 3/4 cent at $10.20 1/2. January beans up 13 1/4 at $10.32 1/2. July wheat down 3 3/4 at $5.47 1/4. September wheat down 3 3/4 at $5.64 1/4. December wheat down 2 1/2 at $5.88 3/4 cent. April live cattle up 247 1/2 at $209.55. June live cattle up 277 1/2 at $205.80. And August live cattle up 245 at $201.80. April lean hogs down 52 1/2 cents at 87 2 1/2 cents. May lean hogs down 67 1/2 cents at 88.85. June lean hogs down 37 1/2 cents at 96 17 1/2. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.